Believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence. Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you? Or
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. In this video, we're going to watch Senator Josh Hawley debate a school teacher on gender ideology. Before we get to the video, if you only know Josh Hawley as being a senator, he's also an author. He's wrote 3 or 4 books, I think. I've only read the one, which was The Tyranny of Big Tech. This book right here. It is an excellent read, and I'm told his book, Manhood, is also very good, but I've not read that one. But The Tyranny of Big Tech, if you're looking for something to read, excellent book. Let's get to the video.
before I want to visit with you, Ms. Matsky, but before I do, I just want to clear one thing up. Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that
dangerous.
trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So
pregnant.
you are denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this, where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot just in this exchange.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
This is someone that's teaching kids or teaching young people in a school. This is a very Western thing. This doesn't happen in other places in the world. I'm here in Asia. In Japan, you're not seeing teachers telling the kids that men can get pregnant. It's definitely not happening in places like Russia, the Eastern Bloc. It's not happening here in Asia. This is a very Western thing. You know, it's not happening in South America that you're teaching kids that men can get pregnant. And you see how fragile this ideology is, that it crumbles with just the basic question. They can't even answer the most basic questions without threatening you and saying you're transphobic or you're the reason why the trans community is committing more suicides than ever before. Saying that trans people exist and saying that men can get pregnant are 2 very different things. I think we can all agree that trans people do exist. They're out there in the world. Men are presenting as women. Women are presenting as men. Fair play. That is a very different thing than saying that men can get pregnant. I agree that cats exist and dogs exist, but if you're going to try to make me believe that a cat is a dog, yeah, we're going to have an issue here because I believe in the truth. It crumbles so easily. They cannot answer the most basic question. And she said that, well, some cis women, I hate that term. I don't know where it came from, but I hate that term. Some cis women can't get pregnant. Yeah, but the thing is they're supposed to. There's something went wrong at birth or something went wrong somewhere in their life that now they cannot get pregnant, but it doesn't make the statement any less true that women are supposed to get pregnant. Biological women are supposed to get pregnant. Let's roll the clip.
Ms. Matsky, let me ask you something. Yeah. So you provide health care to women free of charge, right? Is that right?
Absolutely.
You've done this for many years.
Yep.
You have licensed medical professionals at your pregnancy care centers. Is that right?
That is correct.
What are some of the resources that you provide for women who come to you in a time of need?
So,
just give us you talked about it in your written testimony, but just give us a sense of it.
So we have 3 OBGYN doctors, 5 registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, phlebotomists, medical assistants, and we provide prenatal care, OBGYN care. We provide pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, well woman visits, breast exams. We provide a wide range of medical services, yes.
So what do you think about the DC politicians now saying that your clinic and the other 3,000 pregnancy care centers around this country are fake medical clinics. For instance, Senator Warren has said it's now more important than ever to crack down on so-called crisis pregnancy centers that mislead and deceive patients. Senator Menendez, crisis pregnancy centers jeopardize women's health and well-being, all while elevating unproven theories about birth control. Senator Warner wrote to Google asking them to censor search results for care centers like yours, saying, directing women to fake clinics that traffic in misinformation is dangerous to women's health and undermines the integrity of Google's search results. Do you run a fake clinic? I mean, is that what's happening here? You don't provide actual medical care to actual women?
We absolutely do not run a fake clinic, and we have a full medical staff. Like I said, many of our medical professionals have experienced abortion for themselves, including our OBGYN doctor who used to perform abortions. So our entire medical staff is there for women, whether they choose abortion and walk out the door or whether they choose life for their baby, and we support them for years after that.
Do you think there ought to be an ideological test to be able to get medical care in this country? I mean, should we say to women, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' ideology, otherwise you can't go get medical care? Or maybe for you and the physicians who work at your pregnancy care center or the thousands of others across the country, should we impose an ideological test on them and say that, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' position on abortion or you can't provide medical care to women? Should we do that in this country?
Absolutely not.
I just want to ask in my few remaining seconds here, Ms. Hawley, the Dobbs decision, as I understand it, I've read it now a number of times, it gives to voters the decision as to what laws should be pertaining to life and pertaining to abortion in all 50 states and other jurisdictions around the country. I'm just curious, do you know what percentage of voters in this country support the DC Democrats' position that they want to impose on the entire country, a one-size-fits-all rule they want to impose from the top down? Do you know what percentage of voters support their position, which is also, by the way, the same position taken by North Korea and China, other notable violators of human rights? Do you know what percentage it is?
I know that nearly 90% of Americans oppose abortion in the third trimester. The number that would support abortion up to the moment of birth has to be minuscule. It's a horrific policy.
Yeah, I mean, based on the most recent Harvard poll that was just released just a few days ago, less than 10% of voters say that they would support abortion into the final month of pregnancy, and yet that is the law that the DC politicians want to impose on every voter in America, to take this away from the people, take it away from my state, take it away from all the other states and the voters in the states, but impose this law uniformly that is not supported by 90% of the American people. Talk about anti-democratic. At the same time, they want to shut down 3,000 pregnancy care centers all around this country. That's radical. Thank you for being here.
You can see the contrast between these two ladies, right? Very conservative lady, well-dressed, a necklace, and the very liberal lady with the nose ring, the mask, the whole thing. Like, if you didn't hear them talk, you could tell which one was liberal and which one was not. And I'm not hating on either of them for how they look. I'm just saying it's quite noticeable. And what Senator Hawley is saying here is quite scary, right? Now we have these governments that are imposing their ideologies in democratic countries where people have a right to vote. Imposing an ideology, imposing laws on people. You're becoming more and more communist, fascist by the day. And the reason that migrants go to America, go to Canada, it's not because they're more oppressed there, right? It's because these countries have more opportunity. They're democratic countries. Our laws, our values, our morals that we built these societies on are what people want. But now we're losing it because these governments are becoming more and more anti-Christian, anti-Catholic. And look, I'm not the most religious person in the world. I'm more and more religious over the last 10 years as I started working with an orphanage and, got older. I grew up Catholic in my 20s. I didn't really go to church that much. I was working on the rigs and working a bunch of jobs, putting myself through university. So I was busy and I didn't go to church. Didn't read the book or anything. But as I got older and as I take care of kids and people, I've become more and more religious. But I was always a pro-life person. I don't want to ever be at a point in society where if you're pro-life, you're the weird one or the odd one out. I don't want to get there. But our governments right now are so left-wing. The legacy media, which is crumbling, by the way, independent media is where people are going for the actual news. But this legacy left-wing mainstream media is all state media pretty much. Look at the CBC in Canada. You can't believe anything they say. They get way more money, almost double the amount of money that they get from advertisers from the Canadian government. That becomes state media at that point. You're just pushing a point of view. Canada's got a bunch of censorship laws. These laws are what Senator Hawley is almost referring to here when he's talking about these pro-life clinics and the government trying to impose their ideology of, abortion on all of us. This lady has clinics. They try to help people and convince people maybe to keep the kid, to maybe have the baby. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. This shouldn't be some weird thing. You should want to do that. You should want to give life. You should be accountable also for your own actions. With all the amount of contraceptives that we have in the world right now, choose one. Don't have sex. Make the guy wear protection. Shut your legs. I mean, there's lots of stuff like that you can do as a woman. You can just make better decisions. And I'm not, again, I say this all the time. I'm not letting the men off the hook. If you have a child, it's on you to take care of it. But let's not get to a point where just abortion is just like, oh, I'm just going to abort this baby. And then that's just like a normalized thing. Let's not get there. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Catch you in the next video. Peace out, everybody.